Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
This is the Dan Levator Show with the Stugotz Podcast.
Am I contractually obligated to start with Kaepernick? That's Greg Cote just dropping things in the background as the start of the show begins. His only contribution. You're the worst, man.
Dropping it.
Just the worst, Greg. Like, honestly.
It's just something dropped. I mean, it happens. You know, I'm not perfect, unlike yourself.
We're going to start another football season, and I know that this one's actually juicy. This is a juicy development, but we're going to start a third football season.
Well, let me ask you this, because the only place that I'm going to find this juicy is if owners get deposed or need to settle, or that collusion case. I don't think this latest installment is juicy, although I understand why everyone is talking about it. I can't think of a more antiseptic way that I would want somebody with the FU money to get in this game than to be a sneaker company commercial. Like the racial injustice and police officers killing black people, that's not something that I want in the Nike ads. And I understand that Nike has been paying Kaepernick, and I understand a lot of people are going to take sides on this and say, see, it's not a real cause. The man lost his job, whether Nike's paying him or not. He lost his ability to play football in his 20s because he's obvious to the eye, blackballed. So I like that a sneaker campaign wants to get in the game because somebody wants to get in the game against, the owners with the FU money aren't doing it. Disney with the FU money isn't doing it. The big people aren't doing it. If a sneaker company wants to do it, I'll settle for it. Mm-hmm. But to me, it feels this shouldn't be commercialized. And Nike hasn't been in the game in a long time in terms of the public talk of something they did. Nike is famous, at least in part, because their commercials are unbelievably good. Yeah. And now they can regenerate some of their business by doing something that's quote unquote controversial when it's not controversial. Mm-hmm.
Well, it is controversial. And it's pretty significant that they're doing this. I mean, there's already a boycott Nike thing. People are cutting the swoosh off there.
What does that mean? Is it a dozen people? How many people are doing that?
I don't know, but the point is, it is controversial. And I give Nike credit for taking a stand behind a very good cause.
That's fine. They can take the stand all they want.
You don't like Nike kind of using Colin Kaepernick and his cause to sell sneakers? Is that basically?
I think that Colin Kaepernick's cause gets cheapened given what he's actually kneeling for. The reason, not the anthem stuff, that he's kneeling for racial injustice and against police brutality. It's not a sneaker campaign, man. Mm-hmm. That's not a sneaker campaign.
It sure is a platform, though, to advance the cause. I mean, because I think Kaepernick and the players kneeling would disagree with you. I think it's a positive thing when Nike, and as you say, Nike ads tend to be very
I don't think
produced.
This is hard to do, though, for Nike. I really don't think that this is difficult to do. Why? They're in the athlete business, man. You think athletes are going to be down with Nike? This is taking care of their employees. All of the people who made that sneaker company what it is, this is taking care of them. Of course Nike's going to side with Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Where do you think they are on this? Of course Nike's going to side there.
I don't think it's that easy, though, to side, if you're a sneaker company, to side with Colin Kaepernick.
It is if you're celebrating a 30th anniversary and need a marketing campaign. It is if you need something.
Well, Nike's well aware that public opinion polls show most people not on the side of Kaepernick, not on the side of kneeling during the anthem. So in that respect, it's tangibly controversial when most people are going to be against your association with Kaepernick.
Yeah, but according to Fortune 500, I think they're number 89 company. I'm sure they spent a lot of money in analyzing the risk here. But at the same time, I think what Dan is saying, while it holds water, we just seen the NFL, the biggest sport in our country, deal with this very same thing, and they're still struggling with it. The boycott, in air quotes, does have some tangibility to it. There are some people that are tuning away from it, and the NFL has really struggled with it. It's been real for them.
I have seen nobility in Colin Kaepernick being quiet during all of this and allowing others to speak for him. This is not that. This is now something different. He has stayed off the magazine covers. He has allowed others to do the think pieces on him without contributing anything to it. This is now been turned into quite literally a sneaker campaign. I'm not making that up. We could talk about it across all our platforms today. This has now been, it was hijacked at one time to turn it into politics and an anthem. And now this is a sneaker campaign.
But speaking of platforms, like, he's lost his platform, right? The platform was the NFL. The platform was that sideline. It was the national anthem. So at least Nike here, with what they're doing, the way I'm reading it, with billboards, with digital ads, with...
It's support. It's support of Colin Kaepernick.
But it keeps his message going. It provides him a platform, and they're giving money.
That can't be disputed, what you're saying. What about the optics that I'm talking about, though? What about the idea of, do you agree with the idea that it cheapens it to become a sneaker campaign? And don't even make it about this. Make it about anything. Any cause across all time. Turn it into a sneaker commercial, and I'm like, I
mean, if his goal is to raise awareness, that's why he went to a knee. This is a pretty good way to raise awareness, and there's money going to his causes.
Nike, there is no disputing that Nike has been a Colin Kaepernick supporter. They did not bail on him. They've been literally supporting him. They've been paying him at a time that he's unemployed because they have supported him and his causes. I'm just arguing that it's not the bold step that you think it is from a company that made it all its money off of the back of athletes.
Also, I agree that there does appear to be nobility behind him sort of being quiet and being careful with his message, but I think he's being careful with his message because early on he had several missteps.
No, and the collusion case, it behooves him to not say anything.
Well, they're also the official apparel sponsor of the NFL, and he's in a lawsuit against the NFL, and they've sided with the player over their partner.
This is why, at least in part, this part of it is a gangster move by Nike. They just started a 10-year contract with the NFL. So this is sort of like, okay, dare you.
Right. And I want to see how this ad campaign plays out because Nike's famous for very smart advertising. And I don't think it's going to be a sneaker ad campaign. I think you're not even going to hear the word Nike until you see the swoosh at the very end of it. I don't think they're going to deify Colin Kaepernick in this campaign.
They will do it tastefully. There's no disputing that.
They're going to advance the cause without deifying Kaepernick, and I think it's going to be done very well based on what I've seen of Nike's history with this kind of thing.
So we are going to start a third straight football season talking about this.
It's worth it.
It's an important conversation. I'm glad we're having it, Dano. I'd like to have the Gruden conversation, perhaps the Nick Saban conversation as well. You think we'll get to those today?
Sure.
All right, great. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval, only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Alouette, gentil alouette, alouette,
Jean te plumerai. Comment ça va? Ça va bien.
Was that Spanish?
Stugotz. Were you speaking Spanish?
I may have been by mistake, now that you mention it, because I think it's comment allez-vous in French to say, or perfunctory, comment allez-vous, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let us say.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Randall Cobb going to join us in 15 minutes. We will talk to him about a variety of different things. I would just say this as a last word because I don't really want to talk about Kaepernick all show. I'd like to do our regular nonsense. But when you think of Nike and you think of who it is that they're trying to appeal to, it's young people. And there is a cultural divide on some of the stuff that we've been talking around Kaepernick, but there's also a generational divide there. Nike is playing to its constituency here. Who keeps those shoes popular? Who rejects Steph Curry's shoes as whack? What are those? That's Nike makes things that young people buy.
Right.
And this, even if the stock price goes down a little today in the short term, this is not bad for Nike. Getting in this particular game is not bad for Nike.
Listen, Nike's going to make money. They're in business to make money, and maybe the optics on that are bad, but at the same time, and it can be both, they are providing Colin with something that he needs.
They are providing
he needs money. He needs a platform.
Support.
He wants his message to still...
That part is not small. That part, the idea that Nike just signed a 10-year contract with the NFL and they're starting with Bleep You. That they're starting with Bleep You, that's not irrelevant.
No, it's a one. I don't see a downside to it. It's good for Nike, as you say, because guys my age aren't buying Nike sneakers. They're appealing to teens and millennials. But I think it's great for Kaepernick's cause. I really do. I think it's a real positive.
Stugotz, what do you got for me on John Gruden? You're mad at John Gruden. John Gruden, I can't believe I've lived long enough for boy-face John Gruden, the Chucky doll, always young, for him to be the old curmudgeon who's going to get run out of the league by the 30-year-old running the Rams.
It's unbelievable. I mean, listen, the Raiders as an organization should be ashamed of themselves because they could find $100 million for John Gruden, but they couldn't find any money for Khalil Mack. Now, I happen to agree with...
Wait a minute.
I happen...
One of them's under the salary cap and one of them's not.
Well,
what does that mean? Okay, let me finish my false equivalencies. All right.
And so listen, with Khalil Mack, I happen to agree with what they did. But you know what, John Gruden? They are paying you $100 million to stare Khalil Mack down in the eyes and tell him, you know what? I don't want you on this team. Don't blame it on the owner. Don't blame it on Reggie McKenzie. You are the man who made this decision. Own it. Tell your locker room, tell everyone, tell all the fans of that team that you did not want Khalil Mack. Don't make it a joint decision because we all know it wasn't a joint decision. I agree with the decision. You got 2 first-round picks, but don't sell me on the fact that you, Mark Davis and his crazy haircut, and Reggie McKenzie got into a room and made the decision together.
What are you railing about?
For $100 million, sit there and tell everyone, I don't think Khalil Mack is good enough to play on this team.
Okay, that's what he needs to say. You think that's the quote?
Pass it off to McKenzie. That's a terrible job.
But just I want to make sure I have your take correct here. The take you've been waiting all weekend to give an extra day. I just want to make sure I've got it right.
Terrible job.
You want the quote at the press conference from Gruden to be, I did this, and furthermore, Khalil Mack's not good enough to play on our team. That's what you want the quote from Gruden to be.
Yep.
That's what you're clamoring for publicly.
I don't want him to position this as some joint decision. This was a John Gruden decision. He's getting paid $100 million to make these decisions.
Let's call him Joint Gruden from now on.
Tell everyone it was your decision. I mean, Reggie McKenzie is getting crushed. He had nothing to do with this. He probably wanted Khalil Mack, and Gruden told him no.
All right, that's in, and there it is. Stugotz needed to be the guy taking the side of poor Reggie McKenzie.
Terrible.
He also started that argument with, I don't even disagree with the move.
That's right. No, I like the move. It's what I would have done as well. But get up there and tell the truth and own it. And the truth, according to Stugotz, is that John Gruden deems Khalil Mack, no nuance whatsoever, not good enough to play for the Raiders.
It's a great move. I mean, listen, but you know what? How do you sit there and preach leadership and accountability to your players and then, big press conference, you shrink up and blame it on Reggie McKenzie? How do you do that? And say the players must be looking at him like, this guy is great. Who is this guy? I don't respect him. He's lost the locker room.
Wow.
And you felt a lot more good.
There it is. Stugotz finally says Stugotz finishes at the finish line of that particular marathon with his favorite finishing push, which is he's lost the locker room.
Do you think Derek Carr is looking at Gruden the same way today as he did a couple of days ago? I promise you he's not. And neither is anyone else. Amari Cooper, and that's about all the Raiders I can name. That's it. Those guys, they're not looking at Gruden the same way. They looked at him as a savior. Now they look at him like he's a kook. I mean, what are they doing?
That would have been the third funniest John Gruden quote if he had said Khalil Mack isn't good enough to make my team. The second funniest John Gruden quote was when he said, I don't believe in this newfangled analytics. And the funniest John Gruden quote is when he said...
You forgot it.
I did forget what I was going to say.
This show ain't free. Time for some ads.
You were great. That'll be great
I'm gonna
for
remember
us.
it.
Good. During the commercial,
I just thought of it.
You're going to remember it?
I just thought of it.
All right, hold on a minute. You want to punctuate the segment, right? Do it correctly here because we need to go up until the commercial. And you're terrible at this. You started the show by dropping something, and now your contribution is to forget your point. And when you got to the third one, go ahead.
Well, now I don't have time.
Do the three of them. You have time. Go.
Okay. The third most is when he said Khalil Mack could not make this team. The second comment is when he said, I don't believe in these newfangled analytics. And the first is when he said, if I don't turn this thing around, I'm not accepting my salary. That's the comment. That's the comment for all time because somebody ought to hold him to it. If the Raiders go 7-9, he should be held to that because that's a statement he made publicly. If I don't turn this thing around, I'm not accepting my money. He said that.
I should have left it with forgetting. How Mike? Yeah, because that was not worth waiting around for.
No.
Time for some ads.
But look at him. He's taking a vigorous sip of his drink because he was so successful that segment.
That's right. I honestly did forget the first time. Boy,
terrible trade, man. I agree with it, though.
Don Batard.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl.
Stugotz.
'Cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Everybody, Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number one.
Yeah.
Yes, we're the Miami Dolphins.
It feels so good to not be repressed anymore.
Ruin the song, man.
I was feeling joy.
Yeah, wrong lyrics. Fine.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We should ask Randall Cobb those questions about Bono and U2. So let's just say football's starting this weekend. We're all very happy about it.
I'm just saying, 4 songs in, you don't want to refund the money. You want people to feel. You don't even have to tell anyone. Right. Just play the songs, mouth them, and no one knows.
Yeah, you already said that. Can I talk to Randall Cobb about it now?
My bad, yes.
So Randall Cobb, thank you for joining us. If Bono 4 songs in loses his voice the way that he did for U2, should he keep lip syncing or should he just end the concert?
I mean, if you can't sing, then I would think that you would just end the concert. I know a lot of people probably paid to come see him, but that's got to be tough, especially if they weren't planning for him to lip sync.
Would Randall Cobb have demanded a refund if 4 songs into Bono and U2, all of a sudden he leaves the stage? When's the last time Randall Cobb did ask for a refund on something?
I actually asked for a refund the other day on some furniture.
Nice.
Wow.
What happened there?
It's a good follow-up question.
How long did you have?
The furniture broke. I need a refund on it.
So you had it for about 7 years and then you returned it?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was 9, actually.
Heady play.
He has teamed up with U.S. Cellular and their Most Valuable Coach program. Fans can nominate their favorite kindergarten through 12th grade coach at themostvaluablecoach.com. Randall Cobb with us as football season opens this season. Did you have one coach above all others that was a guide for you from kindergarten through 12? Is that why you're involved with this?
Yeah, definitely. I think my coach in middle school, Coach Russell, was that guy for me. You know, he always talked about integrity and he always talked about honesty and character, and he always talked about what you do when no one's watching, and I think that's some of the values that I carried along with me. So that's why one of the reasons I wanted to team up with U.S. Cellular to celebrate Coach Russell and other coaches like him that's with school-affiliated K through 12 schools. So it's been amazing hearing some of the stories that we've had of some of the coaches.
Randall, are there such thing as kindergarten coaches? Because I've never heard of that. Like what kind of like a coaches kindergarten?
Really?
Yeah, I'm curious. Because that's like a 5-year-old, right? That's like a
Pop
4-year-old.
Warner, what, flag football?
Kindergarten?
No? Yeah, like Pop Warner. Yeah, maybe they have the school teams for the first and second graders now.
Okay.
I want to talk about the Kentucky years. I want to talk about you playing quarterback in college. That seemed like so much more fun than what you're doing now.
What I'm doing now is a lot of fun, but yeah, definitely my time in college was on another level. Being able to do a little bit of everything. It was a lot of fun. We didn't win many games, but it was a lot of fun.
I want to hear more about this time, though, don't you?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at the stats from your freshman year. I mean, you were pretty ridiculous at quarterback. Like, do you think if you stayed a quarterback, you could have played quarterback in the NFL?
Well, come on.
He was really good as a freshman, man.
I know, but...
Yeah, I think I could have. I probably would have been very good, but I think I could have lasted maybe a year or two.
But did you know when you were stepping on every college football field, even though, I mean, you were at Kentucky, so you weren't surrounded by a whole lot, but did you know that you were the best athlete on the field?
No, I definitely did not know that. I definitely didn't think that. I always thought I was good. I would say my freshman year against Georgia was the first time that I was like, wow, maybe I can do this like professionally. Playing against a lot of guys that get drafted from Georgia. They had a great defense that year. And, being able to make some plays against them, I was like, wow, maybe I really can do this.
Who's the emergency quarterback with the Packers? Is it you?
Yeah, it's me.
All right.
The emergency.
Hopefully we never get to that.
Yeah, that would be bad. You almost got to it last season. Can you explain to us how?
Yeah, we were close.
Can you explain to us how much easier? How can you explain to the layman how much easier the game is made by Aaron Rodgers? Can you help us understand it?
I would say the best way to explain it is you have a coach on the field. He is changing the play. He understands because there's a 3 technique on a certain play that they're blitzing, and he's able to see it and pick it up protection-wise and check the play to what we need to run that's going to be in the open area. So he does a great job with being able to communicate all those things within the play clock, which I think is remarkable because you have 20. You get to the line with normally 16 or 20 seconds, and you have that much going on in your head, and you're able to get that communicated to 10 other guys within the play clock.
Randall Cobb does not have public controversies with his words. What do you make of Jalen Ramsey spending the offseason torching everybody?
I love it. I think that's just that's who he is, and that's what he's created for himself. He likes to be viewed as the villain, and he has to play to back it up as well. So it's not like he's talking all this and then going out and getting burned every play. So I'm excited to see how people go at him this season.
Randall, that game against Georgia, and I'll get to your eyes in just a second here, but that game against Georgia, the game that you thought to yourself.
Beautiful eyes. He does have beautiful eyes.
They're the best.
I mean, I could gaze in them. They're like lagoons. I could gaze in them for an entire press conference.
But I love your confidence, and you should be confident with those eyes because that Georgia game, you were 12 of 20 for 105 yards and 1 interception. You thought, like right after that game, hey, maybe I could do this professionally. I could do this for a living.
Yeah, I mean, as I was 18 at the time, going up against one of the top defenses in the SEC. Guys is getting drafted, every year from Georgia, and being able to have. I mean, I made a few plays, but I didn't. Obviously, the stats don't. 12 for 20 for 105 yards is not very good at all.
But Stugotz had to. This is what I love.
Plays that game, and I threw an interception at the end of the game as we were driving in to score for a go-ahead touchdown.
Yeah.
I threw an interception.
Why would you do that to Randall Cobb? Why would you do that? Why did you just do that to Randall Cobb?
Totally unfair. Well, listen,
you went up and looked his stats up just so you could embarrass him.
I wanted to see how good he was. Now, he was good. I left out. Now, this is where I really did bad to Randall Cobb here. I left out the rushing stats. You did rush it against Georgia 18 times, 82 yards, and you had 3 touchdowns.
Why would you do that?
Because Randall Cobb seems like a fun guy. Doesn't take himself very seriously, so I'm just having fun with him. And he's got great eyes.
Hey, but check me out though. It's the reason why they moved me from quarterback. Obviously, I wasn't doing much in the air. I was more of the ground attack.
Randall, you saw what the Packers did with Jordy Nelson, just dumped him, and there have been reports that you might have been on the trade block, and you said that you were worried about getting cut after last season ended. How tough is the business side of football, and where do you think you're at right now in your career?
The business side sucks. You know, it's definitely no fun to see, you know, one of your best friends leave. We know we've been playing together for 7 years, and you know, you would think that he's the type of guy to be a Packer for life. He's, you know, whenever they talk about the Packer way, he embodies what that means. As a teammate, as a player, as a person in the community, he does everything the right way. So it was tough to see him go. And, you know, there was definitely reports that I was on the trading block. Goot came and talked to me and shut those down immediately when those reports came out and told me that was false. You know, so that gave me that was definitely a great conversation. You know, and I heard those reports on my birthday, so you know that was a great 28th birthday.
Nice, happy birthday!
Wow. But it was all good.
Let's play the look.
It's all good.
Let's play the looks like game here with Randall Cobb. So you can just tell us through your laughter or agreement or disagreement whether any of these things we're about to read to you are true. Does Mike McCarthy look like the guy who insists on doing all the grilling at a barbecue because he's proud of his own sauce recipe? Yes or no? He does?
Yes, definitely, yes.
Does he look like the manager of a fast food restaurant who bellows, "If anyone needs me, I'll be in my office," as he jostles his way into the undersized employee restroom? Does Jimmy Graham look like a... No, he doesn't look like that one? Does Jimmy Graham look like a creative player in a video game?
For sure.
Yeah.
You like that one.
Does Joe Philbin look like the ghost of Christmas past?
Definitely.
Yeah. Does Joe Flacco look like the imaginary friend of a kid with no imagination?
Oh, my gosh. What did you ask over this stuff?
Does Sam Bradford look like a kid dressed like Sam Bradford for Halloween?
Wow.
He's almost done with us. Last one. Jeff Fisher. Does he look like the guy who always has one beer remaining out of a six-pack and he's holding it by one of the plastic rings from a previous beer?
I can see that with some cut-off jorts, too.
There you go. He has teamed with the U.S. Cellular and their Most Valuable Coach program. Fans can nominate their favorite kindergarten through 12th grade coach at themostvaluablecoach.com. Good luck with the season, Randall. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody. Make sure you'll get your nominations in by September 10th. It's coming up real soon.
Thank you, sir.
Stugotz here. There's nothing small about your business. It takes a lot of hard work, and it makes a huge difference. As a thank you during Dell's annual sale, Dell Small Business is offering up to 40% off select PCs with Intel Core processors. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with a small business technology advisor today. You'll get tech advice and one-on-one partnership to help your business grow. Call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Don Le Batard.
Are you guys familiar with oyster mushrooms?
No.
Oh, my God. They're the king of the mushroom parade. That's the grand marshal of the mushroom parade is the grilled oyster mushroom. Is there an oyster mushroom hut near here? I would love them to deliver me some oyster. I would eat a whole plate of oyster mushrooms for lunch as long as they're grilled.
Stugotz.
All right, so I Googled it. There is no oyster mushroom hut. However, I believe you can get some from Amazon.
Can't you get anything from Amazon? That's ridiculous.
I could see why you like these things so much. Man.
Am I right?
Garlic and olive oil.
Imagine them grilled with grill marks.
Amazing.
Oh, my gosh.
Medium hot coals.
Man. I'm going to make some for dinner tonight.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, when are you going to talk about Saban burning up Hurts' redshirt transfer option by playing him spot minutes in a few games? Wants him around in case Tua gets injured. Stugotz has a little something for Nick Saban from the maker of that terrible John Gruden take a couple of segments ago. Let Nick Saban have it for being rude to a sideline reporter.
It's not even, listen, I'll get to Saban and the sideline reporter. And by the way, thanks to everyone on Twitter who agrees with me on my Gruden take. Great trade, terrible execution by Gruden. $100 million. I mean, step up and tell Khalil Mack you don't think he's good enough.
Your take was, love the trade, hate the trade. That was your take.
Love the trade, but when you're getting paid $100 million, own that you were the guy and the only guy that made the decision on that trade. Well, Reggie McKenzie, and it certainly wasn't Mark Davis. You think he's listening to Mark Davis? Honestly.
Can we get to
you think Gruden's sitting in a room with Mark Davis?
I am so not interested in anything you have to say about how Gruden should have handled a press conference.
I will. I'll deal with Saban later and what he did to the sideline reporter, but after the game, this quarterback thing, like these guys think that what they are doing is the most important thing in the world. And he compared it to raising children. And he said, I'm not going to be put in a position to pick one over the other because I love both of them. It's the same thing you would do with your children. And he's right. But these guys are quarterbacks. Like, listen, I go out of my way to not make too much about Rachel's lacrosse career in front of Emma, so I understand what he's saying. But these are young, impressionable kids, okay? And they're my kids. They are actually my children, okay?
Her career.
I mean, she got a great career.
It's the same position that John Gruden's in.
She's got a great career ahead of her, and we try to not make too much of it in front of Emma. We do. We try not to do that. And Emma's and Rachel a little mouthy, but Emma, I gotta be honest, she got a great dance career, and so we try not to talk too much about that in front of Rachel. We want Rachel to feel bad. We love them equally. But these are two adults, okay? These are two, and Saban, making it like he's got the most difficult job in the world. Big deal. You like Tua more than Jalen Hurts. They're not your kids. They're football players. They came to play at Alabama, and both of them realized there were other good players there, and one might be better than the other. They can handle it. Nick Saban being mean to everyone for asking perfectly good questions about the quarterback situation. It's absurd. Like, Dan, he is making this out to be like it's the most painful thing in the world to him. And it's not. It's nothing like parenting. Nothing. Zero, zip, nothing. Terrible, terrible analogy by Saban. I'm good. Parenting. Please. Worried about what Jalen Hurts thinks? Get out of here. And Tua's the better quarterback. I mean, everyone knows it. Big deal. He's a better quarterback. I mean, he's not a child. He can handle it. Jalen Hurts can. Greg knows.
Yeah, I do.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN Radio.
Hey fans, Paul Feinbaum here. College football is back and Vivid Seats is your go-to for game tickets. Just go to vividseats.com where every purchase is backed by their 100% buyer guarantee. From the big house to the swamp, Vivid Seats has you covered. So get off the couch and get into the action. Your team needs you. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Enter promo code ESPN at checkout to receive 10% off your order today.
Mike, let's hear the sound of Nick Saban being mean. He was mean to Maria Taylor, right? He was. I have not heard this sound. I know that he had to publicly apologize for this sound. Irritable Nick Saban. I don't. What has to happen in this man's life for him to not be irritable about silly crud? Like what? How much more success do you have to have?
I mean, give him a little bit of a break, though. That Louisville game was not going as he wanted.
I mean, how much? He's got all the best players. He's got the biggest coaching staff. He's able to pay his strength coach $74 million because Alabama is just able to do whatever it wants. He's got all the advantages. He wins every week. Literally, the only inconvenience in his life is that we won't stop asking about his quarterback situation.
And he's finally got a great one.
He's finally got a quarterback, and now he's unhappier than he's ever been.
All right, Coach, everyone had questions about who was going to start at quarterback when this game started. What answers did you have about your quarterbacks after watching both of them play tonight?
Well, I still like both guys. I think both guys are good players. I think both guys can help our team. All right, so why do you continually try to get me to say something that doesn't respect one of them? I'm not going to. So quit asking.
Jeez.
I got off to such a solid start, too. Yeah. Things took a turn.
The part that I simply don't understand with him and Belichick is how much more success do you guys want? Like, that you can't be happy with the amount of success that you have. It seems like an insatiable, greedy way to go through life that's going to end up one day with you taking your last unhappy step into a coffin.
Complaining about the coffin as they lower
Coach, you've got all the best players. You've got a just an unbelievable wealth. You've turned college football into everyone else is playing regionally, and you're the only one playing nationally, and we only tune in. You play Louisville. They've sold their soul for Petrino and his neck brace and his scratched up face. They sold their soul in order to get a professional coach in there. You wipe the floor with him in a way that makes it look like he needs another neck brace. You're
not happy.
I mean, Louisville is a program that has a great deal of respect. You just went into a bathroom and wiped your butt with their program. And then Maria Taylor asked you a question about your quarterback situation, and you go, look, he was. Mike's so right about this. He sounds jovial and cliche enough, and then it just takes a dark turn in the middle for no reason.
All right, Coach, everyone had questions about who was going to start at quarterback when this game started. What answers did you have about your quarterbacks after watching both of them play tonight?
Well, I still like both guys. I think both guys are good players. I think both guys can help our team. All right, so why do you continually try to get me to say something that doesn't respect one of them? I'm not going to. So quit asking.
I mean, you could have just ended it at team, and it was over.
I think I'd be okay with college football just being Alabama and 3 press conferences where we irritate Saban. Like, I'm okay.
Just give him the national championship.
Just play one team every year. Everyone in the field is playing for the right to play Alabama.
Right.
And then on all of the other televisions, it's just reporters jostling with Saban.
Reporters give him more trouble than a mobile quarterback.
Right? I mean, what? I'm asking this question seriously. I know I've asked it before. But how is there so much misery in success that Saban, how many more advantages would he like to have? He doesn't have to pay for his own home because he's the highest paid state employee, and he doesn't have to pay for his own home because the boosters just buy him a home.
And his media experience in Tuscaloosa is nothing, really. He has them all scared because that program runs the entire economy. No one wants to be on his bad side.
He was predisposed to get angry about any question that mentioned the word quarterback because that question was pretty benign that was put to him. I mean, that was nothing to blow a stack over.
It was a very fair question.
Yeah,
I will ask the question again. What the hell's this man's problem? You won the championship last year without winning your conference.
With a quarterback we've never seen until the fourth quarter.
We're sitting here. You're in 4th and 1,000,000 on the last play of the season. Boom, your quarterback throws it 50 yards. Season's over. You win. Stop being so angry about everything. You're crushing everybody. You win forever, man. Forever. You win.
He waited till the national championship game in the second half to keep a recruiting promise. I can lose the best quarterback that we've had here at Alabama, or I can keep him. We'll see.
That kid is so fun to watch, by the way.
He was really good. What's his last name?
I have no idea. TT.
We were legitimately asking last week if both of those quarterbacks could go down and he'd win it like Ohio State did with its third-string quarterback. Right? Because they're that much better than everybody.
If any team could, literally he could.
You saw, I remember people were talking about Lane Kiffin, and we actually went out to see an FAU football game, and the thing that stood out against watching FAU as people were talking about maybe they were a top 25 program, the thing that stood out is, oh, these guys are too small. They're too physically small. So then they go out against Oklahoma, and you see what happens when too physically small just gets run over by 10 yards a carry. Like it just, and that's Alabama against everybody.
Yeah.
That's Alabama against everybody except a couple of schools in their conference if they happen to play them on the road. Alabama against everybody is bigger and stronger than everybody, and their quarterback hardly matters. And he's finally got one, and look at how joyless he is about it.
Perhaps he likes winning without quarterbacks. I mean,
yeah, he likes. Is that what it is? Is he surly because he can't get the credit if his quarterbacks are good?
You think he'd want to talk about his quarterback situation, right? Because he's got two good quarterbacks. Talk about it.
I want to ask the question again. Guillermo put on the poll: does sex make Saban happy? What makes him happy? What makes him happy? Answer the question. Somebody. What brings joy to Nick Saban's life if having every advantage in the sport that you're passionate about, you get every accolade, you get everything you've ever wanted. Nick Saban coaches Alabama, and he's got the genie bottle, and he just opens it whenever he wants to. 4th and 50 again on the last play of the season. Sure, just open the genie bottle here. Clemson safety will forget how to play football. Or was it Georgia? Who the hell was it? What difference does it make?
It was Georgia, I believe. Marty Smith makes him happy.
It's the only thing.
Yep, I think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And happy might be too strong.
Yeah, really happy.
Marty has that effect, though. On
no, Marty Smith makes him slightly less joyless. It's not really happy.
No,
it's not happy by any reasonable measurement. It's not like Marty Smith happens and then all of a sudden Nick Saban is a champagne bottle opening.
They jumped in a lake together.
I know, but he did so reluctantly, and he did so just because Marty seems to have this thing that Saban's allergic to called fun, and every once in a while, Nick Saban wanders over to where the fun is, dips a toe in it, and then runs back to his misery.
Dame más gasolina.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does sex make Nick Saban happy?
Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval. Only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Dan Le Batard.
Chris, give me other examples of your father being self-involved in your childhood.
You had me thinking earlier of things he does with my wife. My wife has been going over there for years, having dinner at his house, and he's cooking, and she hates mushrooms, and yet still every Sunday there are mushrooms involved with this dinner. And he's like, she doesn't like mushrooms?
Love me some mushrooms.
Stugotz.
Christopher's wife, who I love, is a little finicky in the culinary area, and so it's tough to keep track of exactly what she doesn't
mushrooms
like.
Seem pretty simple.
Besides mushrooms, though?
Mushrooms seem pretty simple. I'm going to know that for the remainder of my life.
Well, I'm a big shrimp fan. I love me some shrimp.
She's allergic to shellfish.
So she says. She just doesn't like my shrimp.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We've got a Greg Cote back in my day to get to.
Yeah.
We've got Stugotz's weekend observations to get to. We've got the funniest thing from a long sports weekend to get to. But we begin with Cosby Show shame. Now, a lot has changed since the Cosby Show was the number one show in America for many, many weeks and maybe years. Including the lovable sitcom dad being imprisoned in his 80s for being a sexual predator. This weekend, one of the characters from the Cosby Show, and forgive me for not knowing his name, Jeffrey something. Forgive me for not knowing his name. He was we're going to Roy on this?
His name is Jeffrey Owens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeffrey Owens. What was he?
He played Elvin.
Ooh.
He was one of the daughter's husbands.
The doctor.
Sandra's.
The doctor, right?
A little bit nerdy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which daughter?
Sandra.
Okay. So,
damn.
Did you hear what happened with him this weekend, though?
No.
Why the damn for Sandra?
No, just Roy's, just had answers. Just spit him right back at you.
That's his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, any arcane knowledge of any television show in the 90s, boom, that's Roy's wheelhouse.
It's a pretty famous television show there, Stugotz. I would think that I would know that stuff.
Agreed, but you also have an uncommon amount of useless information about pop culture of that time.
That's true.
Yes, I know. So, but you guys, what happened to him this weekend is that someone took a picture of him, recognized him.
Video.
30 years later, and he was bagging groceries. They were shaming him for the job of being a grocery bagger, going from the Cosby Show to grocery bagging. Now, if you've heard Greg Cote on this show, you've heard him talk about his idyllic utopia as a garbage man. Mm-hmm. The nobility of being a garbage man. Greg Cote fantasizes about it. Greg Cote wishes that for one day he could be a garbage man. I think that's a dream we're going to make come true before.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
I mean, to this day, when I see a big green waste management truck go by, I so want to hitch a ride on the back of that truck.
I feel the same way about being a mailman. There has to be something so cathartic just about having a mail route. That's it. You drop the mail in the mailbox. Your day is done. Government benefits.
You guys have weird fantasies.
Great lifestyle.
Weird fantasies.
I know the work is hard. I'm just saying there must be something very cathartic. Just being alone with your thoughts and just doing your route, and then you're done.
I mean, okay, or you could just be unmarried.
You know, you have to sort the mail. You have to get out of the truck in some places. You have to carry a bag. It's hot out.
Dogs are a nightmare.
Exactly.
Yes. Dogs are a rabid nightmare that haunt your every step.
Like sending an email, basically, is what he's doing.
Well, you think they're sorting their own mail? I mean, I think it's sorted for them once they get there. I'm not saying
We've gotten a bit off point.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love that everything Dan knows about mailmen or mail women is just something that he's seen in a movie because he's never actually picked up his own mail.
Haven't picked it up in 10 years. It's just collecting somewhere. I also haven't checked my voicemail in several years, so there are probably important messages on there. Time now for Greg Cote's Back in My Day.
And now, it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guy, Greg Cote, with Back in My Day.
We never got to the Cosby Show segment. You guys just hijacked it with your nonsense.
Collecting! Whatever happened to it? Over time, collectors looking for a profit off collectibles gave collecting a bad name, that's what. Many ball players now refuse to sign stuff for adults because they know these cretins aim to turn the item into memorabilia for sale. Back in my day, you collected as an innocent hobby. You collected because you wanted to have something and save it forever, not flip it for cash. As a boy, I collected baseball cards. It was a staple of summer. You'd buy a couple of packs, chew the enclosed slice of gum, and leaf through the cards looking for a gem, a Frank Robinson, a Jimmy the Toy Cannon Win. My friend Gary the Bag Rosenfeld and I would spend days at 1440 brokering trades, brandishing our top cards like aces, arguing Carl Yastrzemski versus Mickey Mantle. In those days, I also was a philatelist, a stamp collector. I remember a cousin of mine who flew helicopters in Vietnam sent me a stamp from over there, and I felt like a kid on Christmas morning. What a bonus. Mainly I was into numismatics, especially coins. I collected the quarters of every state when there'd be a special bicentennial issue back then. Spent years collecting pennies of sequential vintage. I recall a 1942 wheat penny. Today, that treasured cent is worth almost $3. Imagine that. My stamp collection, sadly, has been lost over time, but I still have a remnant of my penny collection and shoeboxes full of old baseball cards, mostly circa 1965 to 1970. A few gems within would actually be worth some money today, except I used to write all over them, proof I wasn't in it with resale in mind. Folks, start collecting something. Cards, stamps, coins, pendelphins. It doesn't matter what. Just collect. have, hoard, and feel good. Not many of us can afford to collect fine art, but did you ever consider starting a collection of old staplers? I recently started that.
What?
Just scored a vintage blue Swingline 747. I have my sights now on an early 70s Ace Liner executive desk model, but I may be dreaming too big. I'm Greg Cote, and that's how it was back in my day.
I mean, put it on the poll, Guillermo. Greg Cote, collector or hoarder?
Don Le Batard.
I get many complaints about why do you cut Cote off so much? Why don't you let him talk more? He has no governor whatsoever for what others find interesting. It's just for what he finds interesting. And what he finds interesting is himself.
Stugotz.
I'm interested in people, so maybe people are interested in me. That's my governor.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Kenley Jansen's ongoing problems with an irregular heartbeat might force the Dodgers to leave their closer at home for this weekend series at Colorado. Mets starter Jacob deGrom tied an MLB record last night by allowing 3 or fewer runs in 25 straight starts in a single season. And finally, a new Die Hard movie has been announced, and it won't have Die Hard in its title. The film will simply be known as McClane, according to Entertainment Weekly. It's got goosebumps. It would appear
Bruce Willis is still out here doing it in his 70s. Is he in his 70s yet?
I'm not sure. I'll check on it. But McClane?
They got to revive the franchise a little bit.
I am so there. It would appear the film will simultaneously explore John McClane in his 20s and his present-day version. Bruce Willis is attached to star. Of course he is. Before it's too late, make sure you get your NFL and college football tickets at Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats even has an exclusive offer for our ESPN listeners. Go to vividseats.com, enter promo code ESPN at checkout, get 10% off your order. Vivid Seats is the official ticket partner of ESPN. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Do you stop on Die Hard every time? And also put on the poll, does a Die Hard movie have to have the words Die Hard somewhere in the title? I stopped again on it this weekend. I can't stop. I can't not stop on it. I don't know how to not stop on it.
Right.
I could be in a hurry. Mm-hmm. There could be some sort of emergency, a fire of some sort. I'm watching him fall down the elevator shaft.
No doubt. Before today, I would have answered, of course, the title has to have Die Hard in it, but McClane. I didn't think of that.
Pretty good.
Yes.
I saw 4 this weekend.
Oh!
4.
They get a lot worse. They go from 1 to 2, and then they just go right into the sewage.
There's only one more to go, 5, until McClane comes out. Oh, my God, I'm going to be there opening night for McClane. Before, Dan, he was riding on the outside of an airplane at one point in time. Yeah. Oh, Stugotz told me it was going to be terrible. It was so great. It was so great. He was outrunning the airplane on this 18-wheeler who was shooting down expressways.
Yes, he's amazing that way. He's an impossible white man.
Who was your favorite henchman in the original Die Hard?
Oh, it's got to be. Is it Carl? Carl, the one with the long hair?
I mean, there were a couple with the long hair. There was Al Leong, and then the blonde.
Al Leong. What do you have? Al Leong had the long hair.
Al Leong had the.
He had long hair. Yeah.
I liked henchmen back there because when they had long hair, it was often balding, and they were still committed to it. So you had bald head, and then just a
I'm pretty sure that we had Al Leong on one time just to talk to him about being Al Leong, who is in that movie, the guy who just steals a candy bar before shooting up Nagatomi Plaza.
Not enough credit. Well ahead of its time. It's such a diverse group of terrorists.
I want to get to Stugotz's weekend observations, Mike, but I feel like I might have to lie to the audience because Greg Cote is wearing me out and has been for a week now, Mike. He wants to publicly feud with you. The reason you may have heard Greg Cote laughing to himself as this segment started is because he is still railing against some sort of perceived wrong that he will not stop. He texts me, Dan, I'm feuding with Mike. He just wants me to talk about it publicly.
Didn't answer that text, by the way. Never heard back from me.
He rarely does, Greg.
I know. Isn't that something? How rude.
What are you feuding with Mike about?
It's not a big deal.
You mention it. You've mentioned it every day for the last week.
Look, I'm a truthful guy, okay? What's on my mind, I have to say, I got in trouble with my family the other day. We're having a family dinner at my favorite pizza joint. My wife's about to eat the last piece of pizza, and she says to me, you want to split this? And apparently I was supposed to say no. I said in an ideal world, I would have liked one more piece, and so she forces me to have the whole piece. Christopher starts yelling at me.
She already had the piece on her plate.
Okay, I was just being honest, though. She asked me, and I said in an ideal world. In this case, quite frankly, the Suey category for best fake obviously should have included fake bitter Mickey Mouse. Eisner! Would have been a popular thing. As it was, it was an elongated category with like 30 entries. 5 or 6 of them got 0% of the votes. Obviously, fake Mickey would have garnered several votes, maybe even been in the top 3 or 4. I'd only bet about $1 trillion on that. But for whatever reason, Mike saw fit to eliminate fake Mickey from the category, and it sort of got under my skin a little bit. They say when no one stands taller than the man who stoops to help a child. Well, no one stands taller than the show producer who apologizes for
he wants a public apology. Is what he's been saying.
I know I won't get it, but I just wanted to vent a little bit.
You had your own Suey Award,
that's true, but that's different than.
And you were the host of the Sueys.
That's you got a point there.
Which was a mistake on our part. It should have been Brockmeyer.
Oh no.
Oh, Brockmeyer would have been great. I'm a huge fan of Brockmeyer. I bow to Jim Brockmeyer. But at any rate, in this case, I felt pretty strongly that fake Mickey should have been one of 30 nominees, but it wasn't. So I move on. Harbor no grudges.
I actually said the word pshaw in the middle of all of that. That's how I pshawed at you. I went pshaw.
Yeah. And what are you pshawing about? What are you disagreeing?
It was nominated for a Suey last year, Greg, and
many people are nominated for Sueys in the fake category. Yeah, fake Jason Jackson.
Here's the thing. Well, he took a couple.
Well, that shouldn't matter, though, Mike. I mean, Streep's been nominated a million times.
Thank you. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
A million times too many.
Thank you for that support, by the way. Appreciate that.
You got it.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good this year. Wow. It wasn't good this year. Yeah. It couldn't survive the final cut. It survived several cuts. We have to get those down, so it's a pure cut. It's a pure cut. Sure. It's the most entertaining for our audience. And yours, it's incredibly limited. I don't know if you know this.
Right. So
it's super limited.
So the things that did survive the cut that got 0% of the vote, those were like worthy of the final ballot.
When fake Pablo Torre comes around next year and is not nominated for the several reasons we can point to it, okay?
7 or 8 nominations for fake Charles Barkley. That was necessary, I guess, right? No big deal.
Only 3, and 2 of them were bad, but it was all a setup for Chris Cote to come
out. I get a pshaw.
Mine was actually good, all right? That's terrible. No, it was great.
You're upset with your pshaw?
Well, I mean, it's obviously I'm not going to get an apology. But
he wants an apology. He's been asking. He's been texting me privately, wanting an apology for a week.
Yeah. I refuse.
Plus, I got a snarky, disrespectful tweet reply from him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
can we get it out there? There is no more tense relationship in our entire ecosystem than Mike against Greg Cote. Can we just say it now? There is. We have a fun, jovial environment.
Like this,
We have.
there is, and it usually shows its head around this time. And I don't know what we're going to do about this. Greg is supposed to go to the bucket of death today. It is the start.
We're doing that again?
Well, this needs to be decided.
Jeez.
Because
oh my God.
As I've told you, this is interpersonal poison, and everyone just blames me for it. So I'm done.
Well, Mike, we've got a different problem here.
I have resigned.
You're done? You've resigned?
I've resigned. I'm not saying kill it.
You
but
just
I'm not
brought it up.
I mean, we need some sort of solution because Greg's supposed to go today, and if it's not addressed in today's show, then Greg is going to skate for whoever's in charge of this.
Well, but
I don't want it anymore.
Wait a minute, though. Hold on a second, because Stugotz, I don't know how many he still owes, but I know that Sarah Spain made a ruling that doubled his poetry jam that he was supposed to do in time, and he still hasn't done.
I'll get around to it.
He hasn't done anything. Yeah, how many does Stugotz still owe from last season? That one's from 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, this is a very difficult job. Everyone gets mad at me when I try to enforce it, and when I know the rules, everyone hates actually doing it. They just blame me.
All right, get the Reaper. Reaper, get ready. Let's go, Reaper. Get in here. We're going to do it with Greg Cote right now. Let's go. It's time for the Reaper. What do you mean the Reaper said no?
The Reaper is also not down for being Reaper anymore. The grid of death is on life support. Grid of death is
hold on,
support.
Dan. This is important. Do you want this thing, wrecking our football season?
The audience wants it. I don't want it. The audience wants it, period. The audience likes it. The audience likes that we have shame that we don't like it, and I'm down for doing something for the audience. I do regret it all the time, but I'm down for it.
But the audience doesn't have to suffer the consequences. I think a lot of you hate me for several reasons, but one of them is because I have to enforce these rules, and I never signed up for this. It's toxic.
You created it.
It's a toxic thing. It's a toxic thing. I hate the creation. I think we should be done with it altogether. It can live on, and I'll step up, and I'll do all the punishments, but I don't want to be in charge of enforcing this anymore. You don't want to do it? Fine. I'm not going to hold you accountable. It's poison. Okay. It's poisonous. It should be dead.
Okay. Let it die. Let it die.
Let it die.
Again, the audience wants it. I mean, I'm not surprised that each of you would choose your own well-beings over the audience, but
for many years,
can't we give the audience something else?
Yeah, for many years I was putting the audience ahead of myself. Last year was hell for me. I'm not doing this again. I'm not in charge of it. Find a new CEO.
So who's taking over? That's what we got to figure out here. Stugotz, do you want it?
No, I want nothing to do with it. Can't we send them a T-shirt, the audience?
All of them?
One T-shirt.
Yes.
Better be an extra large.
Stugotz here. There's nothing small about your business. It takes a lot of hard work, and it makes a huge difference. As a thank you during Dell's annual sale, Dell Small Business is offering up to 40% off select PCs with Intel Core processors. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with a small business technology advisor today. You'll get tech advice and one-on-one partnership to help your business grow. Call 877-BUY-DELL. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
Don Le Batard.
Greg, are you going to say anything? Or are you just going to sit there checking the internet?
When I have something to say, I say it. What I was thinking of as you said that was that I think Black History Month is also split into 2 half months, which is terrible.
That's not true.
It's the first half and the second half of February.
There you go.
Right.
Stugotz.
No, it's February into March, isn't it?
No, it's February.
No, it's
Hang on.
Good contribution, though, when you decided to talk. That was good.
Black History
Chris,
Month.
Yeah, you're... Greg.
I'm like a dog with a bone on this. I'm wrong. Okay.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz's weekend observations are going to be in 12 minutes. Case Keenum is going to join us at 12:30 Eastern. Teddy Bridgewater, you saw he was recently traded to the Saints. That's the Jets telling you that Sam Darnold is going to be their guy soon, one would imagine.
Yep.
Do you guys believe that, given what we saw from the Vikings last year, which was enough for Kirk Cousins to choose them, it was enough for Case Keenum to be competent, do you think if Teddy Bridgewater doesn't break his leg, just in one of the most gruesome things you've ever seen, do you think he would have had the season last year that Case Keenum had? And if he did have the season that Case Keenum had, because Sam Bradford was also good in that offense, their skill positions are overwhelming.
Yep.
Is Teddy Bridgewater still someone that we're talking about as the Vikings starting quarterback and somebody ascending, because the Vikings made a bunch of nobodies look good last season?
Yeah, I think if Teddy Bridgewater never suffers that injury, yes, he's still. I think the Vikings have a very good year, and I think Teddy Bridgewater is still the quarterback for the Vikings. Yes, 100%.
I agree. There was a lot of buzz around Bridgewater at the time he suffered that gruesome injury, much as there was with Deshaun Watson when he was injured. I think Bridgewater that's a great deal for New Orleans because they're grooming a starter behind Drew Brees, who's 1,000 years old. I wish other teams, such as the Miami Dolphins, were doing that behind Tannehill.
And Bridgewater took them to a home playoff game against, I believe, was it Seattle, where their kicker missed a crucial kick that would have made them a winner, and he would have been a playoff winner already. And then
it's always interesting to me when opportunities appear or get taken away, because the Minnesota Vikings last year turned Case Keenum. Case Keenum was a career journeyman that none of us believed in as a quarterback. There's not a person in this audience that believed that he could lead you deep into the playoffs.
The Vikings still don't. He's playing in Denver now.
Right.
They saw him up close, and they're like, nah, we'll take that guy.
Yeah, but that defense is such that you don't need a great quarterback.
Well, it's not just the defense, though. It's their skill guys. Yeah. It's their receivers are really good as well, and they're going to be all the more impressive now that Dalvin Cook is back. One of the best college running backs I've ever seen. Speaking of college football, though, did you see what happened with Braylon Edwards? That the Big Ten Network has suspended Braylon Edwards for being Braylon Edwards.
I noticed that, yes.
So the Big Ten Network suspends him because he was mad about the Michigan football team. He sent out a bunch of tweets that were criticizing the players harshly and by name. Ruiz is weak. Line is weak. Shea is scared. Bleeping Michigan offense is so predictable. Michigan football is sadly one thing. Trash. Now, Jim Harbaugh comes back, and drowning Jim Harbaugh must be a lot of fun to be around these days. So he comes in with, number one, it's not true. It's not factual. There's nobody in our program who thinks those things about any player on our team, let alone the two players described. On the other level, it's disappointing that a member of the Big Ten Network would choose to attack the character of two of our players. And I would say that if somebody wants to attack the character of anybody on the the ball club, come after me, not our youngsters.
It's a fine line with covering college sports. And my mentor at the Miami Herald, Edwin Pope, never used to criticize athletes by name if they were below the professional level. He would with the Dolphins players, but he would not with the Hurricanes players. And I think that line, maybe unspoken, still exists. I think it's okay to criticize college coaches, but when you specifically start criticizing a 19, 20-year-old kid, it rubs some people the wrong way.
It feels professional, though. I mean, it
does. Oh, it does.
But in large part because the stadiums, the money being spent, the money being made, the coaches making $7 to $10 million a year, it feels like professional football. And Jim Harbaugh, don't worry. Like, we're coming for you. It's coming.
It is professional football. And Braylon Edwards is longing for a time when Michigan was as good as it was when Braylon Edwards was there. You get a lot of that from the old guys who remember a better program. Braylon Edwards pretty done with Jim Harbaugh, it would appear. But I love when the announcers in the booth are alma mater people or people who are willing to trash, be honest, and not just be total homer. Lamar Thomas got himself fired during the FIU University of Miami fight that involved a guy named Ned and somebody I think was swinging a crutch as well as helmets. Here's Lamar Thomas's work on that broadcast.
Now the Metro-Dade police trying to restore order.
Now that's what I'm talking about. You come into our house, you should get your behind kicked. You don't come in the OB playing that stuff. You across the ocean over there. You across the city. You can't come over to our place talking noise like that. You get your butt beat. I was about to go down the elevator and get in that thing. You know, I say why don't they just meet outside in the tunnel after the ball game and get it on some more. You don't come into the OB, baby. We've had it down a couple years, but you don't come in here talking smack. Not in our house. You know what we be saying right now? We ready.
Was he fired or just suspended after that? Both?
It really wasn't a network that had a lot of games. It seemed to be a one-off for Lamar.
I think it was his one and only.
There was a total riot on the field. There was a burning mattress, and Lamar Thomas is in the broadcast booth singing.
So great.
Singing happily. I miss those days so much.
It's so great when a player wants to sound like an ex-player, not a polished broadcast.
What do you want? Do you want the Homer broadcast, or what is it that you want?
Yes.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN Radio.
We ready.
Football fans, Adam Schefter here. You know me for breaking news around the league, and I just received a tip. Vivid Seats is offering ESPN fans 10% off football tickets, but you have to act fast. Head to vividseats.com and enter promo code ESPN at checkout to receive 10% off your first order. Vivid Seats is the official ticket partner of ESPN, and with their 100% buyer guarantee, there's no reason to miss a game this year. Don't wait. This offer ends soon.
Guaranteeing promotional terms available on vividseats.com.
Stugotz's weekend observations in a minute, but before we do that, just real quick, did Braylon Edwards top this guy from Spartan Wire who buried Jim Harbaugh? I'm going to get to the Braylon Edwards retort to Jim Harbaugh's come after me, the character of anybody on the ball club, come after me, not our youngsters. Here's Spartan Wire.
Coach Crowley Sullivan, Spartans Wire. He came into Ann Arbor with perhaps the most hype of any coach in the history of the Big Ten, maybe in all of college football. A few years later, you've got a third place, and fourth place finish, and you're 1-5 against Michigan State and Ohio State. What do you have to do this year to demonstrate to the Michigan community that you are on the path to achieving what they hired you to achieve?
Well, all right, so he aged 10 years before he answered that question.
Great question.
Here's Braylon Edwards, though. So funny that everyone, this is him on Twitter, so funny that everyone is worried about my tweet as opposed to the real issue. 0-17 on the road against ranked opponents, 1-6 against rivals, and the one win was against a 3-9 Michigan State. Last thing I'll ask you, and really think about this before you all get mad, is Michigan better than Iowa? Well, I mean, Braylon Edwards coming strong. Time now for Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Vivid Seats. Need game tickets? Find your seats at Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. Enter promo code ESPN at checkout and receive 10% off your order today. Vivid Seats. Dan, it's official. Brian Kelly is less overrated than Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh, New York Jets, collision course. Page 11, Andre Agassi autobiography. Great read. It's been slightly over a week, and Mike Ryan, using a driver on a 130-yard par 3 and putting it 5 feet from the pin, is still the most impressive thing I've ever seen in sports. The Ohio State Buckeyes are the same without Urban Meyer. The Baltimore Ravens, Wade Brashard Perryman. Dan thought he was going to be the best wide receiver. I thought you said that in football.
I said he was the number one pick, and he was.
Well, we thought you said he was the best wide receiver at football. The old Le Batard kiss of death. Here's the deal.
You're just making bleep up.
I'm not certain we are. If Dan thinks you're the best he's ever seen at something, you're not.
Here we go.
Ask David Carr. Here's a blanket rule. All big-time college football programs should adhere to. Your first game of the season, do not schedule Appalachian State. Lane Kiffin can't spend an entire offseason talking and give up 63 points to open the season. Nick Saban, you make $11 million per season. You have everything. They paid off your mortgage. You have a lake in the back. In that lake, you've swam with Tim Tebow and Marty Smith. Is it too much to ask that you answer the totally fair and professional question with respect and class? You like Tua better. Big deal. Say it. I don't care if it hurts Jalen. Is it Rozier or Rozier? Raiders GM Reggie McKenzie said losing Khalil Mack will sting his roster. Then why'd you do it? To the Michigan fan who bet at Newt Rockney on Twitter $20 on the game, and in the fourth quarter revealed he only had $7 and ended up not paying. Michigan fan, the Stugotz is strong in you. Isner! Congratulations to Kansas for paying $450,000 to lose to Nicholls State at home. Nicholls State beating Kansas and getting paid $450,000. That's a win-win. Dan, the U is back in the LSU acronym. Will Greer, Tua, two-man race to the Heisman house. Brady Hoke, don't know what you had until it's gone. Tom Herman, unemployment line, collision course. You know the scene in Rudy when the janitor walks away with his fist pumped in the air? That's how I imagine Charlie Strong after every loss by Tom Herman. Since leaving the University of Texas, Charlie Strong is 11-2. Since joining the University of Texas, Savior Tom Herman is 7-7. Let's all remember to wish a very happy Rosh Hashanah this Sunday to Tariq Cohen and Juju Smith-Schuster. The Miami Hurricanes should make the guys on offense who turn the ball over wear the turnover chain. Shea Patterson, overrated. Want to know how you know that Colin Kaepernick is a really good quarterback? He's one of the few quarterbacks to succeed despite being coached by Jim Harbaugh. The Steelers GM is disappointed that Le'Veon Bell hasn't reported yet. Here's an idea, Steelers GM. Pay him. Steelers GM, I am sure your contract is for many years and also guaranteed. Your best player who harms his head and body for a living just wants the same. Mark Richt can't win the big one. RG3, comeback player of the year, collision course. Well, trade for A.J. McCarron had to make Raider fans feel a lot better. Why is Brett Musburger still hitting on Catherine Webb? Late Sunday night, my wife, who was sleeping upstairs, woke up panicked. She called me. She asked if everything was okay. I said yes. Why? She said, I hear a strange voice downstairs. That voice she heard, coming from our TV, belonged to Ed Orgeron. Coach O, serious question. Is the Maryland program still toxic? Big Ten Network, you suspended Braylon Edwards for doing exactly what it is you hired him to do. Big Ten Network, the Stugotz is strong in you. Something's off with those Florida State uniforms. Can't put my finger on it. Then it hit me. Everything became so clear. They're just ugly. Stat of the day, Jim Harbaugh has lost 9 of his last 18 games. Nick Saban has lost 9 of his last 100 games. We are just 5 days away from finding out if J.J. Watt can notch his first sack since September 18th, 2016. Thousands of years from now, historians will have many questions about us, many mysteries they'll try to solve. None more perplexing than how we allowed some of our children to be looked after for 4 years by Will Muschamp. The Jets said Sam Darnold gives them a chance to win. I'm saying if the Jets had drafted Tom Brady, he would have been out of the league 16 years ago. Is the baseball season still going on? Isner and Del Potro should just go out there later today and play a 7-set tiebreaker. 2 p.m. today. Isner, Del Potro, U.S. Open quarterfinals. Hope Del Potro doesn't have dinner plans, because I promise you, Isner does not. In fact, Isner has cleared his schedule for the remainder of the week.
The remainder of the tournament. Here, I'll serve at you all day. I'll serve at your face all day.
LSU always has a big, powerful, and fast running back. Bryson DeChambeau, machine. Roger Federer, Father Time, is undefeated. Every time I see Virginia Tech, I just assume Frank Beamer is roaming the sideline. Beamer ball. Joe Madden got tossed for arguing balls and strikes. So innovative. Nathan Peterman has been named the Bills' Week 1 starter. Peterman. Todd Bowles said Sam Darnold kept his head down and earned the starting job. Sam, may I suggest, moving forward, that you keep your head up, because I promise you, they'll be coming from every direction. Playing for the Jets is football hell. Not to be confused with the real hell, which is where Art Briles will eventually reside. Dan!
Eventually?
He's not there yet. You have to die first before you get there.
You put him there every week for a year.
He's in Italy right now coaching. He'll be back to hell soon. Dan, those are the weekend observations. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety and stress for a lot of people. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, your assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. This is very cool here. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days while you shop. Now, here's the best part. If rates go up, your rates stay the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, simple. Go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. Rate Shield approval. Only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Don Batard.
How come John Hamm has never co-starred with Kevin Bacon? That'd be a good combo, wouldn't it?
Stugotz.
Was that a yoke?
Hey, oh.
Hey!
Oh, wow.
Oh,
wow.
What
That's gotta hurt, man.
What happened?
I thought it was deserving. I really did.
Why? Why?
Tough crowd over there.
I know it was breakfast and all that, but you can't crossbreed. We were strictly on swine.
That yoke was runny.
We were doing breakfast. He did ham and bacon.
We got the yoke.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Time now for the funniest thing from the long sports weekend.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha, ha, ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend is brought to you by the Capital One Venture Card. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Chris, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend for you?
Yesterday in our family fantasy football draft, Greg Cote took wide receiver Marvin Jones and running back Duke Johnson in the 4th and 5th round. I mean, that is terrible.
That's money in the bank.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Marvin Jones I could see, but Duke Johnson, that's a loaded backfield.
Those guys are going in like the 10th and 11th round.
Hey, read it and weep. Duke Johnson Jr. is going to have a monster season. He's going to run for 1,000, and he's going to catch passes for 750.
Guillermo,
that would make him like Tomlinson.
Guillermo, right. What was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Over the weekend, a spectator at the U.S. Open was caught dipping a chicken finger in either Coke or Pepsi.
Put that on the poll. Would you ever dip a chicken finger into cola? Roy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
People burning their shoes that they spent their hard-earned money on because Nike signed Colin Kaepernick to be the face of the 30th anniversary of Just Do It.
Yeah, there you go. Do we know how many people were doing that? Because I feel like there were 9 people doing it to put a video together that would go viral on Twitter so that newspapers in one last dying breath could report Twitter outraged over Kaepernick signing by Nike.
You've asked that a couple of times today. Are you looking for an exact number?
Well, I'm just like, how many people, yes, how many people do you think actually burn their stuff? If you had to put the over-under on a number, would you go under or over 100?
Over.
Over. Did you see the guy that said, "Thank God I'm a 3-stripe man" while wearing a Nike hat in his avatar?
I also saw some people saying, well, that's why I only wear Converse, not knowing that Converse is owned by Nike. There's also somebody that burned the shoes while wearing them. That didn't turn out well for him.
Also, Puma and Adidas wanted in on Kaepernick, but Nike ended up signing him instead. So if it hadn't been Nike doing it, it would have been somebody else doing it. You could have burned their stuff, all 100 of you. Mike, what is the funniest thing for the sports weekend?
Bit of a Lifetime Achievement Award, but I knew it was finally football season when Lee Corso came out dressed as a Hunchback of Notre Dame while in South Bend. Thank you, Lee Corso, for everything that you do and always making me smile at 11:58 a.m.
Yeah, it is something somehow in sports that has not aged. At 11:58 on Saturdays, you will be smiling because an old man puts on a costume. And you want to be ready for college football, and it's always great. It's
always great.
It is. And Hunchback of Notre Dame, of course. What about you, Stugotz? What is the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Happened last night, third quarter. Florida State had amassed a total of -7 yards for the entire quarter against Virginia Tech. Oh my gosh, they looked bad.
Yeah.
And it was funny.
Also funny, Robert Smith picked the University of Texas to win the national championship.
Oof. I mean, gonna lose early. I mean, still have a shot.
In that they didn't lose more games than they played on Saturday. But other than that, no, they don't. You just lost to Maryland, who lost the last game they played 66-3. You just lost to Maryland. I mean, they're embroiled in an enormous scandal that involves the death of a player. You just lost to them as a 2-touchdown favorite. Robert Smith. Getting it done. Case Keenum next.
Dollar bills, yo. Dollar bills, yo.
I'm pretty sure George Sedano one time opened his career at a radio station by picking Michigan to win the national championship the day they lost to Appalachian State.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Oh.
Perfect.
Oh, man.
Don Le Batard.
How much career does Greg Cote have left?
Just over 3 hours.
Very little, believe me.
Stugotz.
If my career were a round of golf, I would say I have teed off on the 18th hole. I'm in the rough. Man, am I in the rough.
You've already teed off, though, you're saying?
I've teed off.
You got about 4 or 5 shots left?
Yeah, well, 6 or 7.
Right,
going
okay. Teed off.
He's about to take a drop.
Oh, yeah. No, I sliced it into Mrs. McGillicuddy's condo, and it bounced into the lake, and now I'm trying to find it. I got scuba gear. It's sad.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So Case Keenum was excellent last year for the Minnesota Vikings, and he parlayed that into a contract with the Denver Broncos, who have had all sorts of quarterback issues. He's got a book, and in the book, he details his injuries and influential naysayers who questioned his place in football. So Case Keenum joins us now. Who were these influential naysayers, Case? You wrote a book about your influential naysayers. Name them right now, right here.
Well, Dan, I appreciate that introduction and putting me right on the spot there. I've had a lot of people that have spoken good things in my life, but also a lot of people that haven't believed in me. So, I like to say I stole this from Drew Brees, but I like to prove people wrong. No doubt, it feels good, but proving people right that believed in me, that feels really a lot better. So, there's been some different people throughout my career that haven't believed, but man, I'm still here, still kicking. So, I can't complain.
Name one Case.
I know, right? I mean, you're a religious man and you're a quarterback. That works against us, right? Because quarterbacks try not to say anything publicly, and he's nice. He in his book, he's not bitter in any way, but we do kind of demand the name of a influential naysayer.
You just want one?
Just one. Yes, just one. You can name anyone. You've got. There were many, right? There were many influential naysayers. Just one would be fine.
Well, let's see who's not a fan. Who's in the media that's not a fan of the Dan Third Show, man. So maybe we can just put them on blast for both of us.
So who do you got there, Mike?
Oh man,
influential naysayer.
Take your pick.
I mean, just say a name. I mean,
yeah. Let's see. Most influential naysayer right now is probably Alec Baldwin.
Okay. Can you take us through when you signed that big deal with Denver? There, can you take us through how you felt that day?
Well, it was a special day, man. It was a lot of fun to come to have a team like the Broncos come out and just, I mean, they wanted me. I was their guy, from the start. And man, when John Elway introduces you as the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, it's a dream come true. I remember dressing up as John Elway in my little 7 jersey. I think for like 4 Halloweens in a row when I was 8 through 12. So. Now I'm getting to do the real thing. I'm, basically playing a big kids game, for one of my, favorite teams growing up. And, it's a dream come true. I'm excited to get it going this weekend against Seattle.
Do you agree, that Sam Bradford looks like a kid wearing a Sam Bradford costume for Halloween because his uniform's too big? Yes?
Oh, Sammy Sleeves, man. Sammy Two Sleeves.
Yes, Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy's my guy, man. I can't say anything bad about it.
Well, you mentioned
it doesn't matter.
he could probably be out there in cowboy boots and still sling it around, man. He can wear whatever he wants.
Oh, he'd totally complete 70% of those 3-yard passes in cowboy boots, for sure. Guillermo, put it on the poll.
Man. He throws the ball down there.
I want to ask you, though, you mentioned this John Elway introducing you. He didn't really introduce you. Let's play that sound for him, Mike.
We're real excited about the fact that the Case is here. As we talked about after the season, that we needed to upgrade at that position, and we got our guy. We got the guy that was our target. With that being said, I'd like to introduce you to the new starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, Case Keenum. I'm sorry.
But the money's still
it's still
$36 million, right? I don't think he finds it funny, though. No?
Yeah, the name's right on the check, so
there you go. Yeah. Nice.
Have you stopped giving Elway grief for that? I mean, I hope you haven't.
No, there's no grief given there, man. It's an honest mistake, and man, it didn't ruin any of the day, man. It was a great day, and to get introduced by John Elway, man, I couldn't have dreamed, of a better day. Maybe going out week 1 and beating Seattle, that'll be pretty good too. So,
Case, I ask you this in all seriousness because I'm very curious about this. You're a very devout Christian, and you are in a workplace where sometimes the behavior and the language you hear is not very Christian-like. Is that ever a challenge for you? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, it happens everywhere. There's people that speak their mind in different languages and different ways of using different words. But for me, it doesn't affect me. I don't think that what type of language you use. That I'm not going to judge you for what type of language you use. I try to look at actions and what people do and their character. I think that speaks so much more than words sometimes. So, man, I've been around a lot of really, really, really good players and coaches, definitely animated and have a full vocabulary. But, man, they're the salt of the earth, great people, love them to death. I'd run through the walls for a lot of those guys.
If I come up to you, you're an undrafted free agent in 2012, and I ask you, how do you think this is going to play out from here, Case? What would have been your honest assessment?
I don't know if it'd have been, what we wound up writing in our book. I was trying to make it, 1 week at a time, man. I was just trying to make the team my first year, got released, but signed to the practice squad. Coach Kubiak was the head coach at the time, gave me a great opportunity to learn for that year. And I just tried to get better each day. I think that's probably what we're all trying to do. Whether you're a radio host or quarterback in the NFL, you're trying to get better.
Some of us,
I'm not.
I'm not so interested in that. One of us. Yeah.
Oh, so you've made it. You've reached.
I'm on cruise control right now.
I'm lazy. I don't know about the rest of them.
I heard somebody when I first signed on said you're teeing off on the 18th of your career.
Yeah,
so,
that's me.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yep.
I love the golf metaphors. Those are good, man.
Case, I'm wondering, because you had such a great season, you guys were so close to making it to the Super Bowl. Does a part of you feel like you should still be a Viking?
No, I don't think so. I mean, for me, a part of me just feels like I got that close to the big game, and it slipped through my fingers. So it left me hungry to get back there. It may not be the NFC Championship, hopefully it's the AFC Championship this year, but man, I want to play in the big game, and watching one of my good friends, Nick Foles, play in the big game and have success, man, that, left me hungry. And I know a lot of guys on this team are hungry. There's guys on this team that have Super Bowl rings that are, kind of relit their fire and are even more hungry. So we've got guys that know what it takes to get there and have the talent to do it. So we just, I think we all want to get back there.
You let that ball go at the end of the game against the Saints, and you're like, this is where our season ends right here, this pass?
I let it go. I would say that there was hope before the play. I mean, our hope was dwindling. As the plays went off the clock, as the time went off the clock. But I let that ball go, and I remember it felt really good coming out of my hand. I knew I was going to throw it right where I needed to, and man, just giving Diggsy a chance to make a play, and he made a heck of a play. So it's one I'm sure I'm going to talk about for a long time. But that went from, not having a lot of hope to, man, just a crazy, crazy moment. It was pretty awesome.
You said it was the third best moment in your life, which is strange. I figured it would be the best moment in your life. It was the second best moment in my life, Case. I'm wondering what the top two are.
Maybe kids.
Oh, that's it was crazy, man. And I've talked to a lot of people about it, and everybody asked about it. And some people might be critical or even kind of doubtful that there's no way, Case, like that's the third best moment. And it really is, man. Like, for me, you talk about being a Christian, giving my life to Christ is the best moment. And then marrying my wife, man, I've got a rock star of a wife, man. I wouldn't be where I am without her. And, that day when we got married, it was a great day. So those two moments, man, are the best, in my life. But, it's a close third, man. It was a great pass. It was a great, catch. It was a crazy stadium, crazy atmosphere. It was a lot of fun.
I got to tell you, my wife would never buy that. I mean, it's great. I mean, you're saying all the right things.
In your case, it wouldn't also be true.
Fair point. A very fair point.
He's got a new book, Playing for More. It is available now. Case Keenum with us. Can you just give us 30 seconds, because I know you quarterbacks are very good at this, of generic quarterback talk in front of your first opponent? Don't even mention who the opponent is. The opponent doesn't matter. Just generic quarterback talk the week of the game, the week before football. Just give us 30 seconds. Case Keenum, your thoughts on the upcoming opponent. Don't say it's Seattle.
So is this going to be something that y'all play each week that you can just substitute in every week?
Just your go-to cliches, like the questions are in front of your locker right now, just your go-to stuff before a game. Just give us the pure, uncut 30 seconds.
Yeah, we won't play it every single week. We did it with Ryan Tannehill. He's the best we've ever had to do it, and we just want to see if you can eclipse Ryan Tannehill. So as Dan said, 30 seconds on your upcoming opponent. Don't say their name.
Yeah, we got a great test, coming in this week. We got a great defense. Not, they returned some starters, got some new guys in the back end, but man, they're well coached. They know where to be, when the ball snaps, and they're very sound defense. The front seven, front eight are great at stopping the run, and, the back end does a really good job of, protecting against the pass. So we got our work cut out for us. I think it's going to be a great test. I'm excited to get out there and show what we can do.
Your midseason form, my friend. Gosh. That was totally useless. Thank you. Thank you.
Gosh, better than Tannehill.
It was just unrelentingly useless. I salute you.
I'm glad I could accommodate you guys, man.
Thank you. Playing for More is available now. Good luck this season, Case. We appreciate it, sir.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me, man.
Did you know ADT can design and install a smart home just for you? A new smart home at your service, customized for your lifestyle. ADT can even close your garage door while you're at your kid's soccer practice to help keep criminals and critters on the sidelines. Now, that's what I call goal-keeping service. It's all controlled from the ADT app or the sound of your voice and backed by 24/7 protection. Visit ADT.com/smart to learn more about how ADT can help keep your home safe and smart.
Don Le Batard.
You could get the delicious, succulent ham shank or butt portion. They said butt portion. And I thought to myself, I'd eat the butt, but I don't want to know that I'm eating the butt portion.
Stugotz.
Is the butt portion a delicacy of some sort?
It very much is. I can testify to this. The cut of meat, when I make pulled pork, slow cook a pork roast to make pulled pork, the cut of meat I use is called the Boston butt. So it's a delicacy. I eat butt all the time.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Would you know the coach of the Chargers if he kissed you hard on the mouth? Let's go ahead and update the polls at your leisure at Le Batard Show. Stugotz also got to get to the grid of death here. Cody's got to go to the grid of death. So let's see what you've got here.
All right. The Twitter poll is brought to you by Discover Card. Discover thinks annual fees are ridiculous. If you do too, find out more at discover.com. At Le Batard Show on Twitter. Do you want the show to do the old, repetitive, boring, tired, played out, unfunny, annoying because no one actually pays off their debts? Bucket of death. 78% of the audience said yes. Man, this stinks. I don't want to do this anymore. Does every Die Hard movie have to have Die Hard in the title? They're coming out with a new one named McLean. Before today, I would have answered this yes, but I answered no. But 87% of the audience said yes. Has to have Die Hard in the title. Do you stop on Die Hard every time? 53% of the audience said yes. Is Greg Cote a collector or a hoarder? 90% hoarder. Does sex make Nick Saban happy? 93% of the audience said no. Should the fake Mickey Mouse have been nominated for Best Fake this year? 56% of the audience, Greg, said yes. Should Bono have lip-synced his way through the rest of the concert? Those people got ripped off. 80% of the audience said yes, he should have. He should have. Would Jeff Fiegels, the father, be better at punting right now than his son? 92% of the audience said yes. Would you dip a chicken finger in cola? 90% of the audience said no. I have some early results on Sam Bradford here. Would Sam Bradford complete 70% of his 3-yard passes in cowboy boots? 83% of the audience said yes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Amazing.
So, according to miscellaneous prop bets, Dirk Cutter is the coach most likely to get fired this season. He's plus 300. If you bet $100 on Dirk Cutter being the first coach fired, you will win $300.
Who's least likely?
Least likely is Bill Belichick.
It should be Marvin Lewis. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, Marvin Lewis is plus 1,000. Bill Belichick is plus 10,000. But Marvin Lewis is a good guess. Yeah. Hugh Jackson, Dirk Cutter. Look at that. Jason Garrett at plus 600. Jason Garrett. Let's go ahead and do the bucket of death with Greg Cote.
Reaper, you're blocking the camera shot again.
Of course, as always, the Reaper's in the way again. Reaper, get out of the way. Just.
It's been a minute for the Reaper.
That's $2, Reaper.
Wow.
Stop talking. Oh, here's Greg Cote. Look at this. Wonderful. He's just making a lot of noise. Yeah. Perfect. Just perfect.
Are these stuck together? Oh,
no.
Detroit Lions.
Oh, your boy Marvin Jones.
Hello. Yeah.
The Lions are a 6.5-point favorite against the Jets. The Lions, as football returns, you're not going to do a lot better than that. 6.5-point favorite at home against the Jets. Greg Cote is trying to decide whether to keep it or not.
So I'm taking Detroit to cover 6.5.
No, Detroit just has to win the game.
They just need to not
by any amount.
How are you not familiar with how it is that this works yet already?
Done. Go Detroit.
All right. So he's got
especially Marvin Jones.